Leo's Legion, the 2023 journey to the Grey Cup has come to a screeching halt. The wheels have come off the wagon of the Lions. Not only did they come off, they flew off in every single direction. What could go wrong did go wrong. What did go wrong was worse than wrong. What went wrong? Let's find out with the Three Down Bros now. Leo's Legion, Three Down Bros, Greg, Arthur, Roland, and yes, we are down bros. We're disappointed bros, we're disheartened bros, we're disillusioned bros, we're depressed bros. I don't know if any of those D's hit you out there in Leo's Legion, but they're all coming right through me, out of me. Game was what, 2 days ago? And I'm still upset. I'm still disappointed. I'm still disillusioned. I thought we were better this year than we were last year. I thought we had learned what we needed to do to move forward, to get past the Winnipeg speed bump, to get to the grown-up table, but it didn't look like it. We had keys to the victory. I don't know what happened. We're going to find out in this room. We're going to go with our high-level thoughts, or in this case, low-level thoughts maybe. What do you guys think? I'm going to toss it over to Arthur to start this decompression chamber off on the right foot.
Well, thanks for that. I mean, it was a tough game. I had a bad feeling, like my prediction from last week. We were overmatched in a couple of key matchups, and Winnipeg took advantage of that. And they pressed where the Lions were weak, and they exploited that, and they exposed us. And Lions made a valiant effort to keep it close. The defense, wow. Apart from that first drive, to the defense, awesome. And I'm sure the offense tried to play their hearts out. They just couldn't get it done. We're gonna dive into it more, right? Special teams, good returns, but you give up the punt block for a touchdown, and that was, for most of the game, that was the difference, right? So yeah, so close yet so far. I think the score flattered us in terms of, but the territorial play, there was no doubt there was a better team, and it was Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Roland, what do you think?
Yeah, it was tough, very, very painful, very disappointing. What makes it worse is that I told you guys before the start of the game, whoever wins this game will most likely win the Grey Cup, because we knew we were playing Montreal. And Montreal had no business winning that game. It was Toronto who shot themselves in the foot, right? Montreal's offense couldn't click, right? But their defense showed up, and then Toronto shot themselves, right? So going into the game, it's like we just needed to get past Winnipeg, and then the Grey Cup is within reach, right? So it was so painful. And we started off really bad. We're playing catch up, but near the end of the third quarter, we were 5 points away, just 5 points behind. And if our offense was only able to produce, because our defense, like I said, other than the first drive, they did what they had to do to keep us within the game. But that's not enough. The offense needs to produce, and we couldn't produce as an offense. We'll talk about a lot of things that went wrong in the offense, but that's what's so disheartening. It was really painful, right? Because it was so close, and for this to happen again. The other thing was, of course, the injuries, right, to our key players. Hatcher, TJ Lee, even Vern was banged up, right, his knee, and so it's hard to kind of blame them for me, because with Vern not being able to run because of banged up knee, we knew if he ran like he did for Calgary, I think it would be a different game. if Hatcher didn't get injured so early, like maybe even if he got injured a bit later, but we got into some sort of rhythm, then it might have been different. So that's why it was so painful for me, just because, it was there, and we let it slip away. Yeah, Greg?
Well, like you said, we're going to get into it a little deeper, but I've got to say, I'm still not past it. You guys are so calm. You guys are, you guys have this wonderful perspective. I'm pissed. I'm disappointed. My prediction was last minute field goal, and I thought, you know what? 5 points. We're going to go down and get a field goal minimum off that great Terry Williams third quarter return. I mean, what kind of gift can Winnipeg give us? They got the ball to start the game, and we got the ball to start, and we got the ball again, and we went backwards. And I'm thinking, my prediction can still come true because we're still within reach. But when adversity reared its ugly head in the form of those injuries, pop gun offense, we still couldn't get it over, get past that adversity. And you know what?
50-50 penalty calls going against us again.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm mad at you over there, Arthur. You said we're going to get those plays in the playoffs. As long as you do, and we still haven't. But it's not your fault. It's those figure skating referees. I will address one of those later. But man, some of those refs got to go. My 14-year-old son came up to me today because he spent all morning at the CFL official site saying, look, Dad, they got an officials academy. These people are the next generation. What are our chances? And I said, we'll leave that for another day. But he was looking, he had all these marks and gradings beside all the existing officials, but we won't go there right now because I'm getting all upset and steamed because I think that's what upsets me the most is that it was so close. We were supposed to have learned from last year. Like I said with the Western Semi, same movie, different cast. Well, Western Finals, the same movie, different quarterback, we'll say a different clutch receiver, and we'll say different defensive personnel. I thought we could have moved forward because we had learned. But I think we still haven't, like Roland said a few episodes ago, when adversity rears its ugly head, I don't think the leadership on this team can make those adjustments because it looked like they were now just trying to keep their head above water after the Hatcher injury, after the Vernon's knee. I don't know, because we can only see what happens on the camera angles on the telecast. But we'll get into it on the next layer of this. But yeah, high level thoughts. What went wrong did go wrong, and I think they weren't keying on those kind of things going wrong. Not executing, all that kind of stuff. That's one thing. But losing key players at inopportune times, I don't think anybody prepares for that. But I'm still upset because they should have been ready for it. Well, that's my opinion, and that's where I'm staying.
The OC, I think, actually, the OC should be preparing for key players going down, and I think that's one of the things I think that went wrong. The OC did not adjust, and the key players went down.
But I think every team has a next man up attitude or a next man up mentality. So Hatcher goes down. Can you not plug someone in there that just? I mean, he's a slot back. I don't know, but we'll get our thoughts on that and fans' thoughts. But I'm getting heated as we talk more about this.
I mean, there's so many directions to go, but let's pick up one thing you said and let's talk about leadership, because then we can get down to the positional can get onto the positional discussions. Leadership, right? So I look back at last year's team versus this year's team, right? Last year's team we had I would say a technically superior Nathan Rourke. Right, I think he, a season for the record books. We had Ryan Burnham as, at that time, Rhymes was hot. Yeah. Like he was like the number 2 receiver in the league, top 2 receiver in the league. You had Ryan Burnham, you had Hatcher, you had Whitehead. They were stacked on receiver. So this year we don't have Burnham because of retirement. We don't have Rourke, and Adams, great year, but you could say, I would say Rourke going to the Western Final probably gave you a better chance to win. You don't have Burnham, I said. Hatcher we lose in the second series of the game, and Rhymes, I have no idea what happened to him for this game. This year, I know he was banged up or whatever. a poor season, maybe by injury, but he still played a handful of games, and he needed. When Hatcher went down, our go-to guy went down. But then, if our receiver, our leadership, we had a void. We had a big void, and we needed someone to step up. And we just needed. I mean, who ended up saying it was McInnes that ended up standing up in the receiving corps.
Yeah, we
have more leaders in the receiving corps, and if we don't have enough leaders in the receiving corps, we needed them, right?
Yes.
Apart from that first, like from a leadership point of view on defense, apart from that first series, like in the Winnipeg versus, they just basically ran it down our throats. I think the leaders on defense stuck up.
Yeah.
They stood up and they say, okay, we're not letting this happen again. So they pretty much stopped the run from the second quarter on. You could maybe say Oliveira maybe got banged up a little. And they try to save him for the Grey Cup or whatever. But I mean, still, the game was young. Offensively, I think we needed more leadership. Something. I mean, Adams can't do it all, and maybe he was trying to do too much. Right? For a pass-first offense, because we pretty much don't run the ball, or don't care to run the ball, or don't care to establish the run, then you're putting all that pressure on Adams, and you're putting pressure on receivers to get open. Now, if Winnipeg is dropping 8 or 9 into coverage, and these guys aren't getting open, you're putting all that pressure on Vernon Adams. And offensively, we needed more leadership. Roland, what do you think about leadership?
I agree. I think the other angle that I'd like to throw in is that, yes, leadership, but I go back to the play calling. So the OC and the defensive coordinators. I think the difference on the defense was that Ryan Phillips adjusted. Right after that first drive, we saw more run blitzes that kind of got Winnipeg to start moving away from the run, right? Because they were getting stopped. So that was a good adjustment. When Lawler was going off on his own, they got number 1 Gary Peters to shadow him, right? So those were good adjustments. On the offensive side, I don't know if we really made any adjustments. We were still trying, from my viewpoint, still trying to execute the original game plan when we should have adjusted. Yes, you're right. Leadership, the top receivers need to get open. Doesn't matter if they drop 8. You got to make this play. You got to get open. They're not getting open. So yeah, I agree with you there. But after you've banged your head on the wall a few times and nothing's happening, the OC should start changing the scheme. Right? If they're not able to get open, then do something else. So get some short, high percentage plays, and string those along to at least get some sort of rhythm. But I didn't even see much of that happening. So at force, we don't see the whole picture just watching the game, right? But that was the feeling that I got, is that our failure on the offensive side, had a lot to do with the plays that were called as well. Even getting Adams out of the pocket, right? Those are called plays. They have schemes for that. Even the Hail Mary that we'll look at it later, right? That Hail Mary, Mizell was schemed to block as Adams was coming out. So they have schemes for getting him out of the pocket, because he was getting killed in the pocket with all the sacks that he was taking. For whatever reason, if he was taking too long or he can't find anyone open, and he's holding on to the ball, so there's a lot of blame to go around, right? But if you see that happening, like how many sacks? 9 sacks, was it?
10.
Like if you're the OC and your quarterback sacked like 4 or 5 times already, change it up, right? The O-line's not going to change, so you got to change it up. But that didn't happen. So that's why it's so painful, right? You're going. It's like you're on a boat in some whirlpool going down, and you can jump out, but you don't jump out. You just kind of keep going down with it. That's the feeling that I got. Anyway, Greg.
Well, I like to. I was going to take leadership. Like I agree with Arthur's leadership, the leadership on the field amongst the players. But I was leaning more towards your level of leadership, Roland, and that's the coaching. And I'm going to go a little bit higher, and I'm going to go to the head coach. I want to know why you are predicating and building this whole season upon getting to the Western Final. Now you are aiming to have the Western Final in your dome on the fast track, no elements, so this wonderful receiving core you have can dominate with their speed and their ability and their talent, yada, yada, yada. But there is going to be a chance, 50-50, you're going to end up having to play in the elements. So number one, you built the team that you built. That's fine. But it was apparent very early on you couldn't run. So you've had all season to kind of tweak it along and adjust it, but you didn't. Now, after you win the Western Semi, you know you're going to Winnipeg. Everybody's talking about the elements. Everybody's talking about the weather. What do? You practice inside the dome. And I really think, in hindsight, that was a detriment. Because we saw a play where McInnes's footing wasn't right. We saw, hands, I don't know, just maybe too lackadaisical going up to catch a ball. But I think not practicing out in at least the elements here in the Lower Mainland, which would have been during that week, rain and wind, whatever. I think the players need to be acclimatized a little bit before heading to Winnipeg. Just my opinion. And I think that's where Campbell made a mistake in the preparation. And I think all of the games that we did lose this year, we didn't look prepared from the very top on down. And then if you're not prepared, that's where you got to have your puppeteers or your coordinators, as we'll call it, make those adjustments. So I'm kind of holding that leadership from the very top that, maybe the intensity has to start at him and come down. Because even during his post games, and he gives a lot of credit to the other team, as he should. Because hey, I know Arthur, 9-team league, but hey, the good teams are the good teams. They did show up, we didn't. But I have never heard Rick take it upon himself saying, I didn't get the guys prepared. I didn't put them in places to win, like some other coaches say. Just, that's where my leadership falls. And then, again, going down another layer, we'll see what else we needed to do, what could have happened, should have happened, wish have happened. Maybe reviewing our keys to victory. What do you guys think? Going over those, sure. Let the fans hear, and see what fans out there in Needles Legion agree with us, disagree with us, have some opinions.
Sure.
Arthur, can I start with you? I believe your key to victory was stopping the run.
Gotta stop the run. That first series, it was just absolutely disgusting. I was like beside myself. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, the first couple, you're like, okay. First couple of big runs by Oliveira, you're like, all right. But it was like 6 run plays and one dump off to him, and the Lions would stack him up, and then there's this push from behind, and then all of a sudden the pile moves more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they were trying to wrap him up by his shoulders. No one was going for his legs. You guys we were watching it together, and we're like, why are they, at least someone go for his legs? I don't get it.
Let him trip over you at least. Something.
And you know what they were doing is they were like pulling Lions off of the pile, and then kind of like blocking them and pushing them. Like I saw Josh Woods, like he was taken away from pile and then drove down to the ground.
Yeah.
Like it was bully ball. I know they had 6 offensive linemen, and it was just like, we're ramming it down your throat.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my. I mean, like the Lions got 3 points on the initial drive, right? Because Maizal had that long run.
Yeah.
They got 3 points. They were up 3-0. And you're like, okay, well, rather have 7, but that's good. You got 3 points
on your opening drive. That's right.
And then Winnipeg just inside zone run. I mean, it was like massive hole, or Oliveira just breaking a tackle, or it was just like he gets stood up and then he moves the pile. It's ridiculous. I was like, but give them credit. After that, he got 60 yards on the ground in that first drive, and then he got 99 yards for the rest of the half, and they had like 10 yards for the rest of the game, right? So they did shut it down, but I mean, for a lot of the game it was like 5-point deficit, 8-point deficit, there's like you had to do, apart from one drive, one drive. I'm not gonna be too nitpicky, but that then we had to do run blitzes, and then they were just coming over and getting these little passes, right? Because that's Colaros was taking what the defense was giving him, and there were easy passes because we were stacking the box and stacking the line of scrimmage, so he had an easier time moving the chain just by throw.
Can I toss a question up to you, Arthur? Just one question. Were we more keen on stopping the run against Calgary, in your opinion? Or were we more prepared to stop the run?
I think they probably did a same scheme as how they stopped Calgary, but that doesn't work against the Bombers.
And Winnipeg was a little more prepared, I would think.
Well, maybe just better.
No, okay, fair enough.
Oliveira had was playing better. They pushed the pile. I didn't see Calgary do that as much.
No.
Lions had to then adjust again and really commit to stopping the run, or else it would have been a laugh, right? I mean, that first drive was laughable.
Got the team and the crowd into it, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's nothing worse than just having Oliveira run 10 yards pretty much every play.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than that. And it's 6 plays. Like, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, we give credit to RP for adjusting later, but why didn't he adjust in that drive? Could have adjusted earlier. That's because that was a huge momentum, right? Like, in terms of time of play, yards gained. Maybe he couldn't adjust on the fly on a drive. He needed to get everyone back into the sidelines because it was so loud, right? It was so loud. I don't know, but had they adjusted earlier, maybe they wouldn't have had. And then other than that first field goal, our next few drives all fell flat, right? So the drive after that, we ended up punting. Then the drive after that, we get sacked, and then on our punt it gets blocked, and then it goes back for a touchdown. And then the drive after that was what was that? Was it an interception? Yeah, the drive after that was an interception.
I think it was the tip, right?
Yeah. Then the drive after that was another sack and another punt. So our offense couldn't get anything together. And so talking about what went wrong, I think last week I said that we needed to start strong, and it wasn't, right? Other than that field goal, that surprise big run by Mizell early on, that surprised me. Caught
a fast start.
Yeah, caught Winnipeg off guard, so that was good. But after that, we couldn't get anything going. And that really hurt us because now, rather than starting strong, we started. We were now playing catch up to Winnipeg, and their lead was getting bigger and bigger. So it was, the injuries I think played a part. I think the game plan had a lot to do with Hatcher, and with him going down. It was. I think that got a lot of the players off their mental focus, and with the OC not adjusting, that made it worse. So I would have loved to see Adams just come out of the pocket, just come out, buy some more time, and then throw the ball, right? I don't know. He didn't really run. You think, but post game they asked him about his knee. He said he was okay. So, how bad was his knee that he couldn't run? I don't know.
He's limping visibly during some shots, so you're wondering, is that okay?
Yeah. So that's.
I think he looked better in the second half. They must have done something to give him some stability.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like the rest of the first half, he looked very labored. He looked labored.
Yeah. And then, even the short quick passes, right? Short quick passes, that just something to get us into the groove. And again, another one back to the coaches. Why Mizell, right? We needed Hardy, even if he doesn't have as wide a playbook as Mizell. At least he can go north south, right? At least he can block better. I don't get that decision, so that's my beef. Yeah, Greg?
Well, I remember my key to victory. I think I said VA's got to play new way VA, and that's again the same way he played against Calgary. Quick decisions, get that ball out of there quick, because we knew Winnipeg's line would be coming a lot harder than Calgary. Maybe they get 3-man pressure, 4-man pressure, 5-man pressure, but there were times in that game where it looked like Vernon had less than a second or two to throw that ball. Now, again, camera is zoomed in on the quarterback from the TV broadcast point of view. So like we talked amongst the three of us watching the game, we don't know if the receivers were getting open. We don't know what the coverage looked like to Vernon. We don't know if the hot receiver was open and Vernon didn't see him. We just know Vernon dropped back, and it just, to me, it looked like old play VA waiting for the big home run play to develop and getting snowed under, because he didn't roll out. He didn't make any effort to run. He made effort to scramble around inside the pocket, which makes him a target.
Yes.
And I know, so I think that's where the offense stalled. Again, I can only go by what I saw, but again, Vernon going back to hanging on to the ball too long, not making his checkdowns, or not seeing the checkdowns. And again, we don't know if that, again, him holding too long, the offensive line not holding not making the right blocks, the receivers not going, which would lead me into this next thing that we talked about too. As a unit, we talked about each of our own keys to victory, but we also said they got to play complementary football. You guys are 100% correct. The defense balled out. They made, other than that first drive, they made the adjustments. They bent and didn't break. I mean, on those turnovers that became field goals, at least it was field goals. And like you guys said, going into that fourth quarter, down 5, down 8, that's pretty good based on the territorial play, based on no offense.
Yes.
But when the defense holds and then you go backwards 20, 30 yards because you're sacked and then sacked, that's not complementary football.
Yeah.
We get that great return to start in the third quarter, second half by Terry Williams. Shout out to Terry Williams. And we go backwards. We actually went backwards further than he gave us a return.
Yeah.
So that's not complementary football, and we don't know if that was what was the problem. Was it Vernon? Was it the O-line? Was it all three? A little bit of everybody?
I think so, yeah.
But that third quarter nemesis that always comes up and bites us, that slow start, flat third quarter, that kind of looked like we played a whole entire third quarter for that game. Offensively. We just couldn't. So you wonder if Vernon was physically able to run because he's limping, but then you see him kind of sprint out, you see him dodging around, so the knee has to be somewhat stable because he's cutting in a tight, confined area, but not good enough to roll out, like you're saying, Roland, to buy some extra time. So, and then today he talked about his knee being okay, but then we've seen reports he was playing on a sprained MCL. Well, if that's on your plant leg, that's that inside ligament that holds everything together, then you're not running or cutting. But then, like Arthur said, second half, he looked like it was somewhat stable. So the not knowing partially is driving me nuts too. But again, based on what I saw, VA held onto the ball too long, and that was that came from, that resulted in all of those sacks. Because there were times also the O-line looked absolutely lost, but is that because he was scrambling around inside the pocket versus rolling out?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Well, Winnipeg did blitz at times, and then they got to him.
Yeah.
Right. And then they did some smart blitzing. They got him right away. So that's not on VA holding the ball, unless he didn't pick it up. Like I think we mentioned in the game, like he didn't pick up the pre-snap read, which was blitz.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And he didn't look for his spot. I don't know what he was doing. It's tough to see. Like it's tough to know. We don't have the full view, full camera view.
But
We don't know the play.
There was one play where it was a blitz and this guy came in untouched and he was right in front of Adams. Adams should
Right up the middle.
Yeah, Adams saw him coming. There's no way you can't see this guy, bearing down on you. But he still took a sack.
Yeah, he just dropped.
Yeah.
You're right.
Is that because he didn't have confidence that he can run with his knee? I don't know. Because just a week before, he had full confidence in running. Like, complete opposite, right? So, I don't understand.
He took some hits early, and then I think one of those hits.
Yeah, because when they went to tackle him, they tackled him low, which is a clean tackle. But then when you roll, or when he rolls trying to pull out of the tackle, maybe that tweaked it. Because again, maybe the knee was sound enough for Calgary, but all it takes is a little twist, a little pull, and the ligament can go.
He took some hits, definitely, right? I mean, those 9 sacks or whatever, 10, but there's a lot of other hits he took after he delivered the ball, right? So he took a lot of punishment. I think some of the sacks were on him. Some of the sacks were coverage sacks. Some of the sacks were the O-line just blew it. So I think they all share.
Yeah.
But we won't know until we get the. I guess eventually, hopefully we'll get we'll get some information on, if it was an O-line issue or not. They probably won't tell us. So.
Well, I was listening to a lot of those post-game interviews that you popped up there, Arthur, for us to take in before tonight's podcast, and a lot of the guys haven't watched the film yet because it still stings. So it would be nice to see for them to kind of break it down. And I just want to go back to, I think what you said earlier, Arthur, Winnipeg dropping 8-9 guys into coverage, rushing 3, rushing 4. When Calgary did that, Vernon picked them apart. So is Winnipeg's D that much better, those 8 or 9 guys in coverage? And I want to also address what Roland said, that when our number 1 guy, Hatcher, goes down on offense, it was like a gut punch, took the wind right out of our sails. But Winnipeg also lost their key guy, their heart and soul, to the same injury as it looked like, Adam Bighill. Didn't affect them whatsoever. Is that because they were already in the lead, or is that the mentality that you guys talk about a championship team having?
I think both, and also a third one in the sense that I think Adams Bighill is the heart and soul, spiritually, if I might use that word, but in terms of the physicality, he's no longer the heart and soul of the defense as he was before. So his role within the defense, I think, is not as big as Hatcher's role was in our offense. So I think that's another one I'd add. But the 2 things you said is also right. They have more veteran confidence that, hey, someone goes down, next man up. We don't have that yet. We're still a young team that are still trying to find our way, trying to have that confidence, right? I mean, Winnipeg's been there, done that, right? They've seen their key guy go down and they can go on. We haven't done that as a team, so it's all part of the learning process for us. A lot of people say, going back to this, good Vern, bad Vern discussion. I think the definitely when you look at the production of this game, it looked really bad, right?
It looks like bad Vern on the surface, correct.
But I wouldn't put it on his shoulders. I wouldn't say that's a bad Vern because we know what he's capable of. I think it's what he's playing under, right? Like the schemes that he's being given, the O-line that he has, and the ability of the receivers to step up. And most importantly, which is what we mentioned, been talking about the whole season, he doesn't have the ability to fall back to a run, right? Like all the other top quarterbacks in the league, if things are not going well, they can always run the ball and reestablish that momentum, get the rhythm going. We can't do that. The way our team is built, the way the coaches have decided that this is what the Lions are going to be this year. That answers the question why Hardy was not even brought in, right? There was absolutely no possibility in their mind that we're going to try to use the run to leverage anything in the game. That's why we don't need Hardy, right? So, there's no possibility of that at all.
Yep.
So that really hampers a quarterback, right? The other quarterbacks in the league can look good, because if they're a little bit off, the OC just calls some run plays, pound the ball on the ground, and then they look good. They look good in the end. They win the game. Adams, when he wins, he's like the performance of the ages, right? And then when he's a little bit off,
Western semi.
yeah, when he's a little bit off, we're one-dimensional. So.
And I think Arthur mentioned that too. We needed to have, again, when we look at a position, we needed to have Vernon to play pretty much an A game, maybe an A- game, B+ game. Because against
I was
the team,
saying A to A+ to beat Winnipeg.
Yeah, against the caliber team, the caliber of Winnipeg's defense, he had to be perfect. And now if he's got a bad wheel, that takes away one element of his game. And again, we don't know how bad that wheel is. We'll never know how bad that wheel is. We'll never know who blew the blocking assignment other than what we see and process in our minds as the great analysts that we are here at 3 Down Bros. And as opinionated as one of us is, I'm not saying who, Greg, that's all we can go on. And it'd be nice to be a fly on the wall in the breakdown, film session that's happening Thursday at the Lions facility. But, I'm guessing Thursday, but it would be nice, but we're never going to be privy to that information, I don't think. So we can only go on what we see.
Can we look at something positive? So we've been talking.
I think we need to, for the fans out there in Leo's Legion. We got to throw up something positive.
Let's look at our one and only touchdown, offensive touchdown. Well, actually, one and only touchdown. Let's take a look at this. All right, so this is at the end of the first half.
He looks like he's rolling pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he could have done this more frequently.
Yeah. And this is like this is the pure definition of a Hail Mary. it's like there's, what are the chances of this happening? Like if you're going to say mathematically, Arthur, since you're the numbers guy. Right?
I mean, how often does this happen? I mean, like 1 in 20, 1 in 50, 1 in 30, something like that, right? 5%.
Where it's tipped to another guy,
yeah.
not just caught.
Well, I mean,
tipped.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see that. It's very rare. It pulls off, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, they were close enough. Adams has a good arm, right? He probably threw it 45, 50 yards
And he's throwing it
with a nice high loft because they're at the 45-yard line.
Yeah.
So it's a nice high loft, so the guys can run underneath it, and so that's a good 50 yards with a high loft, and then you put it up there, well executed. Rhymes tips it,
yeah,
and then right into McInnes, and you had two guys right there.
So there was a question on whether this was just a fluke or whether this was schemed.
Sorry.
You could say, maybe we tipped it. I mean, hey, if he could catch it, I'm sure Rhymes would catch it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure because he's not. I mean, he's like well defended, right?
Yeah, there's 5 blue bodies around him, and it goes right to McInnes. So McInnes and Lucky were trailing right here, right? So I think it was. I think if not fully schemed, I think it's partially schemed. Like if Rhymes can't get to it, then don't tip it backwards where our guys are, right? Don't let it go this way because no one's there.
And don't tip it up because then it's live for a pick because there's all those defenders around you.
Yeah.
I don't think they're too worried about that. But I mean, yeah, like the ones I've seen work, Hail Marys, it's usually tipped. More than someone just catches it and then has it and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but again, I don't have any stats.
Did you guys notice the level of emotion after it happened?
Yeah.
They weren't all, they just, whatever. They just kind of ran off the field. They weren't surprised. They weren't shocked. They weren't freaking out. I'm sure they were more relieved that at least now they're in the game. I don't know.
Here's the...
See, Lucky's one arm, and then McInnes just, jogging off.
Yeah.
Like, that was planned.
Well, McInnes doesn't really show a lot of emotion when he catches the ball. But I wanted to show you here. So remember what I talked about rolling out, right? This was schemed for his rolling out because look at Mizell here. Mizell immediately goes outside to seal any defenders trying to come out, right? So Mizell came out this way to block. So, to give Adams all the space here, right? So they knew that he was going to be coming out, right? So they could have done this earlier too.
And that is the first half, so he hasn't gone into the locker room for any patchwork yet.
Yeah, here's another replay.
Did Rhymes even get a hand on that? Did the Orange Club?
Yeah, he did.
He's the one who pushed it.
Yeah.
He was the high guy.
Yeah, he's the tallest guy. He's the tallest guy there.
Yeah, okay.
First hand to touch it. So well executed Hail Mary. I mean, the the odds are really low, but yeah, wonderful.
Can you imagine if Holland's hand hit Dominic's hand and the ball went the wrong way? But anyway, it happened. It's great. We'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, the reaction, the Winnipeg players couldn't believe what happened. I don't know if we have that in this shot here. I remember seeing a shot, or maybe here. So. Yeah, I thought I saw the Winnipeg players just kind of not believing what happened, right? So.
See, and Adams isn't limping there either.
Yeah, that's why I wonder why he didn't run more. He could have run more. The previous game with Toronto and Montreal, it was very obvious that Chad Kelly couldn't get out of his head, right? I don't know if that was the case with Adams. Like Chad Kelly definitely was trying to do everything himself. And he couldn't get out of his head. He was hyped up more than what he was able to get to. Adams had more experience than Kelly, so I don't think that's the case. But I still don't have an answer as to why he didn't even try to run. Like he doesn't have to run as many yards as he did with Calgary, but at least once or twice I didn't even see that. So I don't understand.
Because with him running, at least we have some semblance of a running game.
Yeah. And it prevents Winnipeg from just us being one-dimensional against Winnipeg, right? If they know that he could run, then then they'll have to account for that, right? Opens up more opportunities.
100%.
So.
Well, what could have been, should have been, wasn't.
Greg, I'll answer your question you asked me. I didn't get a chance to answer. Is when Winnipeg drops 8 or 9 back in coverage, and Calgary was doing the same thing. What's the difference, right? So the biggest difference is obviously Winnipeg's getting pressure with their 3 or 4 man rush. Number one. Number two. Jefferson and Jeffcoat were tipping the passes coming out of hand. So he had at least, there was 3 tips. One went for an interception. At least 3. I stopped counting after 3. I mean, those are, if those first 2 were on the money, those were potentially first downs. And then we're off and running a bit. Like, two first downs, you're like, oh, it's a big deal. And those series, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you gain some momentum. If Vernon could get into a groove, just didn't seem like he got into a groove.
Yeah, no groove.
And I would say the Calgary linebackers are probably better than the Bomber linebackers, including Big Hill. But I think the secondary for Winnipeg is much better. But I think it boils down to the pass rush. I think that if you think that the Winnipeg pass rushes took Calgary's level and went up 2 notches, the O-line took a step back, VA took 2 steps back.
Yeah.
The receivers without Hatcher, right? Because Hatcher was a massive part of the Calgary win.
Oh, absolutely.
Massive part. So you took him out, and whatever reason if McInnes was put into the Hatcher role, I know McInnes had a hot finish, but going to this year and most of the year he was the number 6 receiver.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like this speaks to Roland's point is on the offensive coordinator. Why do you have your number 6 receiver now become your number 1 go-to guy in the biggest game of this year? and he's not used to this kind of action. He's not used to this kind of tight coverage or being on the ball. And the most crucial curl pattern of his life, he fell and gave up an easy interception. And that we were 5 points down. We were marching.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that interception was like on the 35, 40 yard line of Winnipeg's, right?
It came all the way back to midfield too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I was saying to you, they were like, what happened to McInnes? And you guys were talking about that. And I was like, you know, maybe he's not used to this much action. Like, he was taking some big hits. He was running okay, when you're the number 6 guy and you're like the 5th read, you know, you're running your routes, but you're not getting a lot of balls. You're not getting a lot of contact. When you're the number 1 guy, you're in the number 1 read on a lot of these. Like, we don't know, right? We don't know. We're just thinking that maybe he just took Rod. Yeah, I mean, just by production, he was being thrown to. So whether that's by progression or whatever, but he just blew a tire. I mean, maybe he's just not physically tough or fit or just not used to the experience. Like you, even though you have the gifts, you have the ability to make passes and catches and everything. But if you don't have the experience to take hits repeatedly for the whole game and getting 8, 9, 10 targets a game and having to make big plays all the time, you know what? You're just not going to be prepared for that. You know, they could have, like, I don't know, like, we have other receivers.
Yep.
We shouldn't have to rely on the number 6 receiver on our roster to be put in a position where he has to make the big play. If we have the best or quote unquote best receiving core in the league, you know, like, don't you think other people have to step up?
Yeah.
We are a pass first or pass only offense. Pass only offense. You know, yes, Hatcher is down, but he's been down first time we went to Winnipeg. You know, I have to say, where were the other receivers? You know, they were covered or scheme-wise, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
But we can't rely on McInnes. I mean, I think Lucky got some more throws. He was put in the game because Hatcher was out.
Yeah. Did Kotoy get any throws at all?
I don't think so.
Oh, I mean, they got to spread the ball around a bit more. Like, I don't know what was going on. There's just so much we don't know.
Yeah.
But to me, that's what the issue was. I think Winnipeg just whooped us, and we were just slow to react offensively.
Well, if I could add to what you said, Arthur, we've got arguably the best, quote unquote, the best receiving core. So if number 1 goes down, shouldn't that whole group just move up 1? So 2 becomes 1, 3. That's what you would think. Next man up. So number 2 should be number 1 now. And you know, McInnes is great at making those clutch receptions as a number 6 because he's not used to the workload, as you say. But he's always ready to make that catch. Because if you're number 6 and all of a sudden you're called on to make a 2nd and 8 clutch catch, he generally does. But then, yeah, getting thrown to time and time again, hit time and time again, hit time and time again. Maybe not in his wheelhouse yet. But then that should have been, I don't know who in our mind is number 2. Would that be Dominic Rhymes? Because
he's being paid like it.
Yeah,
and he was the number 2 receiver last year for the whole league.
He was targeted 6 times.
We were 6 weeks. We were a few weeks without Hatcher because he had that plantar issue coming in. So we had Rhymes, Whitehead, Hollins, Kotoy, McInnes as the receiving core when Hatcher was unable to play. So what happened to the guys that were number 1 and 2 while Hatcher was out?
So Rhymes was targeted 6 times. He only got 1 reception. So I think that's on Rhymes, right? That's on Rhymes. He didn't produce when he needed
2 were kind of in garbage. I mean, garbage. Like 2 minutes left. I mean, really, they're down by 13. Okay. Like I mean, and then one was like contested ball. One was he dropped. He got a 5-year. I mean, at that time, I'm like, okay, you're finally throwing to Ryan. So that's a bit too late, don't you think?
Lucky was targeted 4 and 4 receptions, so 100%. Hollins was targeted 3 times, 2 receptions. Kotoy was targeted once, 0 receptions. So you're asking the question, why did these receivers not step up? I don't know. I think it's a combination of them not getting open. Because if they were open, Vern wouldn't hold on to the ball if they were open, right? So I think it's a combination of them being open, and maybe just the schemes. Maybe instead of maybe the schemes needed time for them to get open, and Winnipeg wasn't giving us that time.
Well, Arthur did say Vern also had a bunch of balls tipped, right? And there were some interceptions.
Yeah. I mean, of course, he didn't have too much time to throw.
Yeah, but maybe he's also a little bit in his own head, again, not wanting to throw the interception because, hey, we're within 5, got to make it right, got to make it perfect, and maybe he overthought how to be perfect, whereas in the Western Semi, the caliber of defense, no offense to the Stamps out there in the CFL world hearing this, but maybe the caliber of the defense wasn't the same as Winnipeg, but Vernon was playing non-thinking ball. He was just boom, 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 like just reaction ball kind of thing, just second nature.
Well, he was in a groove. He was in a groove.
Yeah.
He had time. He had more time to throw.
Yeah.
He had more time. He wasn't getting his hit as much, right?
But again, he's getting hit. He's double thinking. Maybe we don't know because we're not there.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. Like I don't know if I want to badmouth Dominic Rhymes, but I mean, you did go to the brass at the beginning of the year and said, "Pay me like I need to be paid, or trade me." Well, if that's the attitude you're coming in with, then you better back that up. And in the biggest game of the year,
you had a chance. I mean, no excuses with injury, right? You had like all those weeks to rest up.
8 weeks off, wasn't it? 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And you came back. You looked pretty good in the Western Semi. You took some shots. You took that heck of a shot on the hip, but you bounced up. You made those second and long catches, but that's in the dome. If you're going to get paid like you asked to get paid, you got to play in the dome. You got to play in the elements. You got to play that level up here of what you're getting paid all across the board. Did you or didn't you? I'm going to leave that up to us to discuss at a later point. And hopefully the Lions Legion out there, their opinions coming in about receivers not or unable to, a little bit of both in the show-up category.
Yeah, I mean, well, Hatcher, we always thought like he's blood and guts, right? He'll make the tough catch. He's not the fastest guy, but he's gonna get in there. He's in a battle. Sorry?
Isn't that painful to watch him run? Because you wonder if he's injured the way he runs.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't question his courage.
Nope.
You don't question he's a gamer, right? You need more of him. Yeah.
We tagged him as the next Burnham. Like the clutch guy that's going to make that catch, take that hellacious hit, and bounce right back up.
Yeah.
Because Burnham wasn't a burner. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Burnham? Yeah. Burnham wasn't blazing speed, but he had enough to get open, get that separation, make that catch, and be there. We thought Hatcher, but now with that injury, is Hatcher even going to be ready to go next year?
Well, no, I mean, that's I'm sure that's
Achilles.
in an episode coming up, we'll be going through the roster ramifications of these injuries and what we would do. But I mean, like I was last thing about the receivers. Like Holland's had 1173 receiving yards, number 4 in the league. Like Totoy had 807. Like he's top 20 or top 15 in the league, and then Whitehead is like 700 and change.
Yeah.
Right, 728. I mean, like, we should not be needing, like, we should have receivers being able to get open. Like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. We should have open receivers, and if we don't, we gotta get like another go-to receiver. Like, this is ridiculous. In the biggest game of the year. I mean, I would say Toronto's secondary is tougher than Winnipeg's secondary. Like I was concerned like if we had to face the Argos and their secondary, I'm like, I don't know if our guys can get open. But I thought we can get open on Winnipeg's secondary. And if this is the case, then our pass only offense, we got to get better.
We don't know. I don't know for 100% that they weren't getting open, or whether the scheme required them. They needed more time given the scheme to get open. That could be a possibility too, right? So
they're going deep routes then.
That's a possibility. So if that's the case, then that's on the OC, right? Because like they're all good receivers, and for all of them to be, to be shut down the whole game is hard to take, right? Either they're all just, dropped down a few notches and not performing on this biggest game of the year, or they're, the ball's not getting there because, by the time they're open, Adams is flushed out, he's sacked or something, right? So that could be a possibility too.
And I was wondering too, a lot of the balls that did leave Adams' hands, they weren't tight spirals either. They were fluttering. So is that because he's under pressure, under duress, unable to plant, like physically unable to deliver the ball?
Yeah, he was frazzled. Right? You can see. But I wouldn't put it on his shoulders.
No.
But
I'm only calling what I see.
What I will put on his shoulders is just not running. Because even if he's a bit hurt, at least try to run, right? So.
Well, during his postseason interview, he said he tried and he couldn't. But then there's footage that shows, unless he just gutted it and just it hurt like the son of a gun, and he did it. But I think too about the receivers getting open too. Like Arthur would talk about. I think you mentioned this after we saw that game, and we were, and once the tempers calmed down and the food stopped flying around the room because I was so upset. I think you also mentioned maybe the spacing, right? They dropped their 8 or 9 into coverage just like Calgary did, but maybe the scheme of that 8 or 9, the placement of those 8 or 9 was a little bit more confusing to Adam. Again, we can't see what was off camera because the camera on the broadcast is on the quarterback until the ball goes, but generally the camera just had to stay there because Adams got buried by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Bomber jerseys, right? So was that gap control the receivers? There was no soft spots in that zone that he could hit like he did against Calgary.
Well, Calgary adjusted, and they know Adams didn't have as good of a second half. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns in a row, right? So, and then Winnipeg got that tape.
Yeah.
They know his tendencies, right? And maybe the linebackers just drop to those soft seams where their zone is set up.
Yep.
Right.
So now that goes back to that Friday. We should have won that Friday at home. But again,
well,
that's
yeah,
hindsight.
for sure. But then the Lions have to adjust, right? Hey, you can't keep going back to the well and expecting the same good things, the good times to keep rolling. Winnipeg's, they know how to win, so they know how to adjust, right? They can beat you many different ways.
Both sides
and the Lions
of the
can only beat you, well, we're going to beat you this one way. And to me, like we talked about this before, you can't expect to beat good teams just one way.
Yeah.
Never mind
and almost, and I'll say preface this, the almost were able to beat them one way is because the defense, apart from that first series, played their hearts out.
Exactly, yeah.
And they had that chance, and I looked at Roland, and I'm like, perception, and I'm like, oh my God.
I know, that's tough. But I wouldn't put that on McInnes. I mean, that was one play. There were, if they didn't dig themselves into a hole, that one play would not have been so key, right?
Well, yeah. Ideally, you're ahead 2 or 3 scores, and that doesn't bite you. But he just needed to plant properly. Maybe he was just exhausted or whatever, and he just lost his footing. I know it's cold, whatever.
0 degrees, right? So
don't start with me. He played in Saskatchewan. Don't start.
From a weather point of view, that's pretty good for Winnipeg at this time.
That's great. 0 degrees is decent football weather to any guy coming out of the U.S. because they have to play in the Big Ten. They got to play in those winters over in the Midwest. So they're used to 0 degrees.
Yeah.
I would like to throw this out to you guys, though. I touched on this in the very beginning, and that's the figure skating officiating that we had. There's one call, and that resulted in a field goal. It was a drive continuing call, and that was the illegal contact called against Mike Jones, who was standing planted as the receiver came across and bumped Mike Jones off his spot.
Yeah.
We get flagged for illegal contact, but we actually, I believe we sacked Caleros, it was an incomplete pass to a receiver completely on the other side of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And then those sorry. Oh, we're live. Oh, well, those bumbleheads call illegal contact?
I know.
Really? And then a couple of those PI calls where Glenn Suter of TSN says, well, as long as you don't turn the guy, you get away with it. Well, I do recall Justin McInnes getting spun around, no call. Lawler getting spun around about the same, and it's a call, and it's a drive continuing call. And credit to the reason I'm bringing this up is credit to the defense. They only let Winnipeg get off with a field goal. This time I am fully behind the bend don't break, because it could have broke, and that would have been broken badly, because that would have been another 14 points. But instead it was 6, and we kept it within 3, 5 to 8, and then that last one with that stupid call became 11.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think? Was that officiating? Arthur, I think you touched on it. We didn't get any of those 50-50 calls. Would that have changed the outcome of this game at all with the way the offense was playing?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, 3 points. If the Lions were to, if it was a 3-point deficit, what happens? I mean, Winnipeg tense up. I think they would play even harder. They'll okay, well, we're going to defend 10 yards. We're not going to, I don't think there was ever any score effects in the game. They got up so much that they just dropped, they did a cover 2 or cover 3 and let the Lions just run on, just go down the field. But okay, well, we'll give you the 9-7 yards out, little dump passes and check downs, and then we'll keep the ball in front of us. So it was hard to say. I mean, for Winnipeg, if it's a closer game, they'll play even tougher. They'll play straight up defense. They'll play closer to the line of scrimmage. So, but yeah, maybe Vernon doesn't press as much. The Lions are always a front-running team. When they're ahead, they'll run the ball a little bit more, be more high-percentage football. A little more conservative. They'll just move the ball positive yards. But on Saturday, it just seemed like they wanted to take chunk yards, other chunk plays, because it's taking too long for these plays to run, right, Roland?
Yeah.
It was not like two-step fire. I was expecting. Yeah, I was expecting, but this was drop back, and yes, I mean, some plays he was running for his life, but yeah, it wasn't as crisp. It was the execution was way off. It was way off. I don't know what, it's hard to say because we don't know the plays, and we don't know what the play was called,
Did you guys get the feeling that Adams is in shotgun 100% of high 90%, right? Very rarely he's
apart from short yardage.
Right. So did it feel to you guys like as soon as that ball got to him, Winnipeg's pass rush was there at the same time the ball was? That's how I felt.
Yeah, it's 1 or 1.5 seconds sometimes.
There's at least 3 to 4 yard gap between him and the center, and then Winnipeg's another yard off. But they're pretty close to the ball getting there, and I got to give them credit. Their scheme worked. It did enough to minimally confuse us. But yeah, we got to figure out how to get better.
Definitely, our O-line needs to be upgraded. We've complained about that the whole season. But going back to the reffing, I think the bad calls going against us just added to the frustration that BC was feeling. Right? If those didn't go that way, if they came our way instead, maybe, who knows, maybe the level of frustration would have been less. Maybe we would have been able to get into some sort of groove, right? Because I think that's all it's needed to get out of this type of funk, right? Get into a groove, and then you reestablish your confidence, right? So
but you start that groove, the call, now you're second and long, the first and long again.
Yeah. So,
that changes what the defense can do. Now you're in a hole, so
exactly.
Harder to get in the groove. Yeah.
Grooves are important. That's why I keep going back to the OC, right? He needs to know that, if my team is struggling, I need to get them into a groove. Do some short, high percentage plays, get into a groove, right? But there was no effort to do that at all. I didn't see any effort to do that. So, I keep going back to that because I think, when everything is stacked against you, right? Because we're playing in Winnipeg, the crowd noise is loud. We're not used to that place. We can't communicate, right? And then we got people going down, right? As the OC, you see your defense giving their heart out on the field, keeping you in the game, you got to do something, right? As an OC, you can't see the defense, giving it 100% and you just sticking to your game plan. It doesn't make sense.
Nope, then that's not complimentary football as Mr. Campbell preaches they do, or they need to do. So is they talk about our OC being the next up and coming, like he'll get some calls to fill some head coaching vacancies. I kind of hope he stays here for some continuity, but
I mean, he's done some good stuff. I got to give him credit. He's done good stuff, but I think this might be a blind spot that he needs to.
Maybe he needs to address something in his off season.
Yeah. And maybe as a team we gotta rethink this whole strategy of a pass only offense. That's not gonna cut it.
Quick question to you guys. Arthur talked about, Winnipeg had the Calgary film, the Western semi film. They had 2 weeks. Well, no, they only have a week to prepare. Did we not prepare well? I mean, we would have had Winnipeg film. I mean, we would just have the film against how Winnipeg shut us down, what they did against us. Because, I mean, obviously they beat us 2 out of 3. They had to have done more, right? Did we not see the same weaknesses in their armor that they saw in our armor? I mean, they saw that how that guy got in. Nobody has got in clean on our special teams on punt until that one time, and it was costly. So what did they like? I mean, are we not watching? Are we not? Do we not have the ability to dissect film the way their coordinators do?
In my opinion, I mean, of course, we should have the ability. We played. This is the fourth time we played Winnipeg this year, right? And we played like this third time we played in IG Field. Don't get me started on that. But
that's another episode.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not. I mean, it's unbalanced schedule, but what can you do? I would say it's a matter of our coaches preparing, and it's a matter of our players executing. We don't know where the issue is. Poor execution, poor scheme. We don't know, right? Or in-game adjustment, or poor in-game adjustments, right? I would say for the Winnipeg's first drive, you guys see anything special about those runs?
No, their guys just pushed our guys our way harder.
That's just physicality. We're doing zone runs inside, and we're just going through A gap, B gap, whatever is open, and there were some big holes, weren't they?
So the play call in Winnipeg's huddle is Brady, find the hole. Brady, pick
we're just gonna bulldoze our way through, and then if he gets stood up, we're gonna push the pile.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any scheme. No. So that was my. But and I'll answer this question a second way, or a part of it in the second way. I believe it's more poor execution than poor scheme, and the reason why I would say that is since around the halfway mark of the season, we've pretty much been playing 500.
Yep.
Win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 2, win 2, win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1. And then that's what it been. Win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1. We won last week. We're gonna probably lose this week. We won against Calgary at home. We're gonna lose Winnipeg on the road, right? Whatever it is, like poor scheming, poor advanced scouting, poor in-game adjustments, poor execution. Something's wrong. We don't have the answers. The Lions will have it. They'll know. But something's not right since, we got exposed. We were an elite team in the first third of the season, and then we just were a 500 team the rest. So, this is more of the same.
I think,
if people figured this out.
Yeah, they figured us out. We built the team. We built the team on certain criteria, right?
Principles.
Yeah, certain principles. We had a very small but fast defensive line. we're stacked up on the receivers, but we have no running game. But it was a conscious decision. That's okay. We're gonna do this because we think that this is gonna take us all the way to the end. But there were some wrong assumptions at the very beginning, and so initially at the beginning of the season, people haven't figured this out. But once they figured out that we were one-dimensional, once they figured out that we can push the D-line around, then they exposed their weakness. And when you build the whole team around those assumptions, and you're not willing to revisit or change those assumptions, then you live and die by the sword, right? That's
and
what
that
happened.
would go back to where that's top down. That starts at the top.
Yeah.
Going back to your assumptions, if they're wrong, you need to fix them.
Yeah. So the hope is that this off season they'll realize that and it's not major changes, right? It's just minor tweaks, I think. But like that first drive that you're talking about, Arthur, I don't think it's Buck Pierce, right? Their OC. I don't think he planned. Okay, we're just gonna run like eight running plays and drive it all the way down. I think he just did one or two, and he goes, hey. It's working. If it's working, we keep doing it, right?
Why would
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
he's getting like 10, 12 yards easily? Like, why wouldn't you just keep running until they stop it?
Exactly. So I don't think that was the original plan. But that's smart, right? If it works, keep doing it, right? If it doesn't work, then you do something else.
Well, we've had a lot of fans out there that I've been reading on forums, and a lot of them are pretty passionate. This would be about the time of the show for Passion Corner, but we're going to throw that out for now, and we're going to talk to... I'm going to beg the fans out there that are watching to like, to subscribe, and to please submit your passions. Do we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater and start all over again from scratch because we're hosting Grey Cup next year? Are you with Roland that we have some little tweaks? Are you somewhere in between, or are we totally off base with what we've talked about tonight? So I'm just asking the fans out there in Leo's Legion to submit, to give us some feedback, and to like and subscribe, because you know what? Again, we owe Mr. Doman the relevance of making this team relevant and the effort. Those guys, again, he's put everything in. He's made his in-game adjustments. He's made any of his assumptions. He's made them wrong. If they are wrong, he's made them right. He's pretty much made everything right, I think, since taking over. So we got to fix those other things, like the on-field, the execution, the preparing, all of that stuff. So what do you think? Should we, next week we're going to talk about roster management with who's coming, who's going, what needs to stay.
I look back at the season.
We'll look back at and what do you think, Arthur? Like, you've got some opinions, I think, which we'll talk about next.
Yeah, I think whether we do all of our, we will all go away and we'll have a master plan, and maybe each week we can rip each other's master plan, because it'll be probably long, and we probably have a lot of similar opinions, maybe, and we'll have some that are different. But yeah, definitely we're gonna go through free agents that we're gonna keep, because we're gonna have to sign a whole bunch. We want a whole bunch of upgrades, and then we'll be analyzing who else is out there potentially that we can upgrade this team. Make no mistake, 2024 we're hosting the Grey Cup. We're gonna be all in.
Yeah, we have to be.
It's not a growth year. It's not like taking a step forward. We can talk a little bit later in this podcast about whether the Lions have taken a step forward or not from last year. But next year it's all in. So they have to, for every position, they have to see, okay, is this position good enough to win? Is this person, and then, if the young guy can't handle it, or there's not anticipated growth to be that person by the Grey Cup game or in the playoffs, they gotta have to go and get somebody. So because it's a salary cap league, every move, every position counts. Every dollar counts. So the co-GMs have to be on their A game to identify talent and who can make it and who can't. So I think those are going to be massive discussions that we will bring it up in the upcoming episodes.
So I like what you said, Arthur, about addressing, did we take a step forward this year? Because I know I was saying earlier that, yeah, this isn't the year you want to go all the way necessarily, but you have to be beyond the building part this year. We have to have built, that chemistry has to be there. This is just my opinion. And then that chemistry has to be taken forward to next season, and just whatever tweaks we make cannot disrupt the chemistry. Case in point, you don't want to say, because I've read a whole pile of forums out there, in opinion, people want a whole new revamped offensive line, get rid of every one of them. Well, then you're bringing in a whole new group of guys that have to figure out how to work with each other. And we've seen what happens when it takes half a season for an O-line to figure it out. Sometimes that season is gone, and we don't have that luxury to have 5 new guys, 6 guys figure out how to work together. That's just, just a thought that I was reading out there. What do you guys think about something like that? Do you believe the chemistry has to carry forward to next year, minimum?
For sure, I think the chemistry has to carry forward. If you have a brand new team with no chemistry, there's no way we're going to win the Grey Cup. Gary Peters himself said, right, on his final interview that he had the best experience in this year out of all the teams that he's played. So I think it can't be a wholesale replacement. It's going to be tweaks, and I think the tweaks are there. I mean, we've talked about this. Our O line needs to be tweaked. Our D line is good, but they're just not heavy enough. so either Matthew Betts needs to put on some weight between now and next year, and the other guys, or just bring 1 or 2 guys in, with more weight. When Moore played, was it Moore, right? Last week,
yeah.
He played. He has to have, and he was having so much fun, right? So maybe you even have those people now. Maybe we're just not. They're not just. We just need to move them up the roster. Receiving core, I think it's a mixed bag. I think Hatcher, Hollins, I think they're improved over last year. Kotoy, definitely. I think McInnes is a great addition. Rhymes did not produce this year. I mean, he had a few good games, but not where he was last year. So I think,
not to justify the attitude and the demand that he put out this year.
I don't know if I won't touch that, but what I'm going to say is that from where he was last year to where he is this year is a step
regression.
Massive drop off.
Yeah.
Massive. I mean, he was the second best receiver in the league in terms of yardage.
Yeah.
Last year, and then this year, of course, with injuries and.
Yeah.
And what about our guy here on 3 Down Bros, number 7=7? Did he regress, or is this where they schemed him? He didn't have as much production because he's not in that top 3.
I mean, on the biggest game, he was 4 for 4. So that's
and fighting for extra yards and not losing the ball.
Yeah, that's a good way to end, right? 4 for 4. So
he ended up with 728 receiving yards this year and played in 16 games.
But not the number 1 target, not the number 2 target.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah. So this is, I think he had more to give if they utilized him more.
Yeah.
It's a question I think we all have to ask with Lucky is what happened to his top gear? Like, maybe we didn't see it. Like, again, we don't see everything. When he went on the deep patterns, was he getting separation?
Yeah, there was a couple we saw him deep and they just missed him.
Yeah, and was he covered? Was he getting separation? We don't know. Or we don't know the pattern. So there's a lot we don't know. The coaches know, right? They'll know if he's getting that separation. We need his speed. We need his breakaway speed.
Yeah.
Or else we're just going to be short, intermediate route running, passing team.
Oh, dink and dunk, Dickinson, dink and dunk offense.
Well, I mean, if you want to open up short and medium, you need to go long.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So then you need to get those cover 2 pass, like secondary schemes out. So then you can go underneath and go to the seams, right? So it's part. You need that deep threat component in order to open up those short seam patterns. Maybe that's what Adams likes. And if you don't, right, and if you don't have that deep guy, then they can go man on man on you, and they blitz. Can our O-line and our running back handle a blitz? And can our QB handle a blitz when they man on man everyone and your hot receivers cover?
Yeah.
Like, so there's like every dollar needs to be scrutinized. My opinion on the O-line is they have to just tweak. Broxton is good enough. Like, at least Broxton's good enough, right? The interior of the O-line, maybe we need to improve. Now, do you improve all three? That's kind of hard, right?
Yeah.
You need continuity.
Yeah.
It takes time for continuity, and I think a lot of the team will be back.
Yeah.
Right. I think most of the secondary is gonna be back.
Yeah.
Most of the D line's gonna be back. We'll see where the dollars go. We'll see what Betts wants. We'll see how much Josh Woods wants, or Hladik, because they're all kind of free agents. So we're gonna see what happens. But we do need continuity. It looks like they had a good spirit, like from everything we're told, we're hearing. So you want to keep that.
The culture.
The culture is
Yeah,
good.
Talked about build the culture.
Yeah, culture.
Well,
is
mind you,
good.
Congo didn't think a lot about the culture or the practice habits of the Lions. So,
And where is he now? I'm sorry, where is he now?
Yeah, that's true.
And Lemon's having a great season. Congo, I don't know where he is, but they talked about the culture, and I think it'd be nice, like just my point of view, we talked about it later that evening after the game, that if they had that same, and it pains me to say this, and I'm taking it with a lump here, but if they had that Winnipeg player mentality, that they want to stay here, money's not the issue. They want to stay here and continue with the culture that's here, because they're, however they feel, close to the prize next year. I'm hoping that's the mentality versus, no, pay me the way I need to be paid. Because that's not putting team first. Just my opinion.
I think Matthew Betts will stay. I think he'll try to get as much as he can, but I think he'll stay. Funny thing, did you see the interview? I think the reporter asked him something about, are you looking for more money? And his answer was just yes. he didn't go any further.
They're saying with the bonuses he was second highest paid defensive player. I mean, because he hit all his bonuses, right?
Okay. I mean, he deserves it.
So he's the second highest paid defensive player in the league.
League-wise or team-wise? League-wise?
League-wise.
Wow.
Like he was, definitely on the team, and he was like inching toward like one of the best paid. But then that's with all your bonuses hit, and of course he hit all his bonuses, right? He would have to. So we'll see what happens in the coming year. But it'd be very interesting to see. Like, it'd be very interesting what they decide to do. I would love to be in all those discussions.
Maybe we asked Mr. Dolan really nice.
Yeah. But the thing about Winnipeg is they won cups.
Yeah.
And that's why people want to stay, is because they won cups, and then enough of them stay together, they can continue to win.
Yeah.
But there was that year prior to that first win. They still want to be there.
Yeah, when Lawler left, and some other guys left, and then they came back, right? Lawler eventually came back, right? But Lawler got big money. And then, Winnipeg's going to have some free agents, and we'll see what happens with that. Right? Everyone took a little less. Zach got paid, and then everyone else took the less. But I mean, they're an older team too, right? I mean, the guys that took less were like, what we heard was Jefferson, Jeff Coat, and Big Hill. They all took less, and Bailey all took less, and maybe some guys on the O-line. They all took less to stay, and that's like the heartbeat of their team. Well, Bailey maybe not, but like the rest of the guys are the heartbeat of their team and massive parts of their team that they give them a decided advantage. So hopefully the Lions are going to get to that, right? I mean,
I mean, from
they learned some lessons, I hope,
over the last 2 years.
Over the last 2 years, and now next year is put up or shut up.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of good players, and I think based on what we've seen and hearing, I think a lot of them do want to stay, like the good ones, right? So I think that's feeling positive. Just tweaks. Definitely, you talked about did we move ahead or regress from last year? I think for the most part we moved ahead. There's a few places where we clearly regressed, and that's our running back clearly regressed. Our O-line, I think, is a regression. Our D-line, it's hard to say whether it's a regression because that was a conscious effort, I think, on the club to make our D-line small but fast. Right?
A finesse D-line versus a bully D-line.
Yeah, so it's hard to say whether that's a regression. It's a regression if you look at the end result, but you know, it's an improvement if you look at what they were trying to achieve, right? So, in terms of the DBs, I don't know. I think the DBs is not a regression. I think it's an improvement over last year. The one thing that we had last year with Nathan Rourke was that he was making impossible passes, right? So maybe our receivers look better than they would have with a regular quarterback. So I think that's a lot to say to Adams for him to be able to, you know, to kind of bring the team to the, you know, up to the same spot where Rourke was able to bring us. You know, not having the same physical ability as Rourke. Right?
He's got different attributes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a fan now.
Yeah.
Oh, loved.
So quarterback, I don't think we regressed in the quarterback.
Oh, Roland. All right. Well, I'll have something to say about that. All right, go ahead. I think you go through all the precision groups. Yes.
Yeah. I don't think we regressed at quarterback. I think we laterally, just again, different quarterback.
Yeah.
We didn't. It's just different, right? Nathan had. I think his decision-making factor was the biggest difference between him and VA, and his just like it was a quick, and then yes, the impossible throws. I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
I am a fan of VA. I started the year as can't play VA. I believe I started, and then it became lead the way VA, and it's just the last day was just not his day. VA, I guess. Yeah. I mean, all those things going wrong around him, his knee, whatever. So. Yeah. I don't think we regressed. And the play Arthur, you're going to make a point about the precision.
Well, I'm going to go through I'll go through like what Roland did in progression. Guess I'll start at quarterback.
Yeah.
From last year, this year. Okay. From last year, this year, we regressed big time in the quarterback position. Overall. Okay. At the end of in the Western Final, we had Nathan Rourke as the starter. We had Vernon Adams the backup. We had Pipkin as the number 3. The short yardage quarterback. That's way better than what we had this year. No doubt about it.
The whole carousel, the whole quarterback.
The whole carousel, right? Okay. I mean, just the whole carousel, right? Because obviously VA is our number 2 quarterback, and now he's our number 1, right? I mean, like, go on. There's no, and like Davis was, sorry. I mean, Pipkin, you know, he can get you. He can get you short yardage, and he made that great play in the semifinal, right?
Yes.
I mean, come on. I mean, there's no debate. The quarterback position was better last year. Okay, so play on the field, starter to starter. I would say the players had more belief in Nathan Rourke to get the job done. They're calling him Nate Brady for crying out loud. They're calling him Nate Brady for a reason. Tom Brady. Brady. That kind of Brady, okay? Not Brady Bunch Brady. Tom Brady, okay? So they had belief in Nathan Rourke to get the job done. No. So maybe their belief with Nathan Rourke is a 10 out of 10. And then with Adams, hey, he proved, had a great year. Almost 5,000 yards passing, led the league in passing yardage. I'm not pass only offense, true. But I would say maybe it's not as strong, but it's still decent. Right? It's still very good. But it's not at the level of Nathan Rourke. It's not. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. So our quarterback position went from an A to a B+. It's not the reason we lost. Well, maybe. Well, okay, maybe it's the reason we lost.
Okay, we
on
only know
Saturday.
what we saw on the TV, right? We can't.
Okay, yeah, but just in terms of this like regression, there's a slight regression. But I mean, of course, our backup quarterback. If we had a decent if Rourke, hypothetically, Rourke had an MCL sprain in the second quarter, and we had a Vernon Adams as our backup. It was 4-2, big win in McMahon, Greg, big win in McMahon Stadium against a great Calgary Stampeders team the previous year.
Better than we should, yeah.
We put in VA, our
know.
backup, in the second half because not much was happening in the first half apart from a Hail Mary, right? We don't know, but does Dane Evans, did he do enough this year to give you that confidence? Like Vernon Adams 4-2 the prior year definitely give you a lot more confidence than what Dane Evans gave us this year.
And might I add, Vernon Adams came in later in the year to do that 4-2.
Yes.
Dane Evans, as the backup, has been here from the beginning of the year and knows the playbook a lot better than Vernon did coming in last year.
Correct.
Yeah, no.
And I remember we debated that because I'm like, Vernon Adams, he can't believe you. Come on, Greg, he's just got here. He's just learning to play. And he went 4-2. And Dane Evans had that this whole year.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, so to me, just overall, but I mean, I see your points. You're saying it's pretty close because Vernon had a great year, and he had a great semifinal, and his semifinal performance in the playoffs better than what Rourke did. By much, Rourke only had 1 or 2 playoff games in his CFL career. So what Adams did 2 weeks ago was better than what Rourke did in his 2-game playoff career.
Yeah.
So I get it, but of course we're way down we totally regress on running back completely.
Yeah.
Like James Otter is 100 times better.
Yeah.
I thought offensive line there was more hope this year, and at times, I mean, we lost Fig, we lost Godber. Macho Godber probably had a better year than McCourt from what I'm reading. But we didn't have to pay Figueroa, so we went with some Americans. So, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm just going off the eye test. Maybe it's even, but it needed to be better, and it wasn't. Receiving wise, I think we're both the same. We lost Burnham. He was injured a bit last year.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like the Rhymes this year. Like he was injured a lot, played a game injured, but he would give you that big catch. But then Rhymes just didn't give us those big catches.
Yeah.
Big injury year. Unlike last year where Burnham was quite injured a bit, but I thought he gave us more production and bigger clutch passes. So we lost on the receiving end.
And also what he did in the locker room too. I think Brian was a big part inside the locker room.
And to me, that's what I'm thinking we were missing. We're missing that Burnham. We're missing that. We need to get that. Lucky's now the oldest guy, the receiver. Maybe that's just not his thing, right? Burnham is Burnham. There's no one replacing him, right? I thought special teams coverage was better.
Yeah.
And I thought special teams returning was better. I think they're better both ways.
Yeah.
Maybe when I learn how to block a punt when they overload the side, just once.
That one,
the
I
most
don't know.
crucial game.
That one I would say is communication.
Mackey came over the line came across too late.
So
I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe combination of noise, not being able to communicate. So someone saw it but couldn't tell them, so they didn't see it.
Just not sharp. It's body to body, isn't it? Isn't it body to body? I don't coach special teams. Isn't it body to body? Oh, there's 7 guys there. How many guys are over there?
7. Yeah, that's generally theory.
Right? Everyone's got a body, right? Like the punter doesn't have a body. He's pretty much got the returner. So everyone has got to match up. So I don't get it. I mean, am I oversimplifying it? I don't know. But I think in defense as a whole, I think they play better. I think they play better in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
They had their little swoons since August 1st. You know, I think Farhan tweeted out their ranking in the CFL since October 1st. It did not look good.
Yeah.
I thought Calgary, they were a little loose. I mean, they won the game, and there was little score effects. I get it, but they played their whale of a game on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, linebackers surprised me.
Yeah.
Linebackers surprised me. I think Haladic, they traded Williams away. I mean, he kind of lost the middle linebacker position to Haladic. And Haladic got 100 tackles. I think it was, you could say that was a good progression year.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted them to bring in Sankey in the off season, and they didn't do that.
Well, he went to the XFL at that time.
I brought in Thurman. So, but you know, they're Americans, and you know, for the ratio, and you wanted 4 American receivers, then you know, then you have to.
And then Woods coming up late in the season.
Woods coming up late in the season.
In fact, I think Woods is better than Haladic.
Oh yeah, but he's American too. So you're trading Canadian to American. How much is Woods better than Haladic? Are you willing to take an import spot?
Well, that'll be our roster look at next year, our next episode.
Yeah. And then I think secondary, I like the progression of some of the young kids. You know, some of the younger guys.
Because that was necessity. They had to step in with some of the injuries we had this year.
Yeah, like Jalen Cooper took a step. He got injured quite a bit. And then Green looked better. Yeah. Some of the younger kids looked better. Yeah. So, you know, maybe you can rotate one of these young guys and take out one of the vets. That's a little spoiler. Which one I think will probably go.
Next episode.
It won't be Garrett Peters, that's for sure.
Yeah. Next episode.
Next episode. Garrett Peters, what an outstanding year. Outstanding. And easily could have been the defensive player of the year for the Lions and maybe representing the West. But, of course, Betts with the record in sacks. It was a close because Peters had a great year, too.
We need Garrett Peters to come back because he promised to come on our show.
There you go.
Hear that, GP1?
Well, yeah, I think overall, the Lions took a step. I mean, they gutted out some wins. They had to overcome some adversity. I think they had a lot of calls go against them, especially in the last third of the year. I don't know what was going on. Maybe off mic, they're whining to the refs a lot, and the refs just get enough of it, and then maybe they're getting a bad rep. Something's going on with the officiating. Like, it's bias. But I guess, maybe we look at it through an orange lens.
Well, figure skating officiating is generally biased anyway, so.
Oh, boy. So I think overall, we moved ahead. But we're going to need to take bigger steps to beat Winnipeg. But, Winnipeg, as they're getting older, they're regressing. So if we can improve a bit, tweak a bit, and we make some adjustments, we get a bit more experience, and they're another year older, it might be our turn.
I think it's very doable. Very, very doable.
Very doable.
Because we're almost there.
We could have won that game.
Exactly.
Dom, just get down.
Exactly.
With a second left. We kick a field goal. We host the Western Final.
Exactly.
What happens?
That's right.
Or the other Dom, just get those 2 inches. If I could address that quarterback thing, I believe our inaugural episode, we agreed to a man in this room, in our 3 down bro room here, that we had the best quarterback stable. With
in the CFL.
Yep. Kind of didn't look like that after the year's over.
Definitely did not look.
Right?
Did not.
Because when Dane Evans had to step in and start for VA, he did not have the same results as when VA had to step in and start for Dane. And he had a whole year
of
from
course.
training camp forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So
I mean, he smoked Edmonton when mind you, everyone was
Yeah.
at that time.
Exactly.
Sorry, Maryland. And
I found out my brother-in-law in Toronto is a big Eskimo fan, elk fan too. I'm like, what? But anyway, so my good old mom has some support out there, but
yes, but yeah, I mean, I thought Evans was going to have a better year, and I mean, he went into Winnipeg, and Winnipeg was out for blood, right? That one road game, and he got smoked, and he got injured.
yeah, and I mean, we look at his record and his reputation coming in from what he did in Hamilton. So why wouldn't we be, jazzed on? Hey, look at this is what's backing up VA. That's pretty good. And then Dom Davis again, based on past performance. How did we know he was going to regress to not falling forward this much in a lot of situations? Not just the big Friday game that should have been first place, but I'm talking there's other short yardage that he didn't get. And I think those were in all the losses that we had this year.
Yeah. I think on paper, I think it was an accurate read when we made that call. But, of course, once you see people play, then it changes things.
On paper and on field, absolutely.
And it changes when third string quarterbacks come and beat the Lions in the middle of the season.
The vaunted secondary. Yeah.
Getting beat deep by these third string quarterbacks, that hurt.
Yeah.
And we know our third string guy was not doing anything of that sort.
Nope.
Well, they have an advantage in that we don't have the teams don't have any experience with it. They don't have any tape on them. Right? So a
And
lot
the
of
thing
this,
is, those third string quarterbacks have been putting in some reps. I mean, that Hamilton third string was pretty much their starter the whole year. Taylor Powell.
yeah, and you saw it. The first few games, and they were beating us with their legs, right? And getting out of the pocket. Just they're just scrambling, and we didn't. So I think there's a little bit of what beginner's luck kind of thing, right?
But it happened. I'm not going to address each position like you guys did. I'm going to agree with you guys across the board, everywhere. But I'm just going to say one thing: where we did regress,
Okay.
it was too much at the wrong time.
Too much
regression at the wrong time. Like, yes, where we regressed, it was too much at the wrong time. Like, with the receivers, well, the running game, it regressed based on last year, and it reared its ugly head at the wrong time. Right? That's all I'm saying. Like, and the quarterbacking regressed at the wrong time. I mean, I think I totally agree with you guys about the progression, but we need to take those steps for next year.
we need to not regress against Winnipeg when it counts.
Yeah. But that can only be addressed. You can't address it just with personal changes. I think the scheming and the strategy for what the team is going to look is half the battle there. Right.
And the other half is the culture of this team. If the guys are for this culture, like you all say, and all the clothes you all wear, then your attitude better back up that you're for the culture of this team.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't be going in demanding to be paid and then not backing up that demand. I'm sorry, that's in any sport, not just this one. I mean, that's in any sport.
Yeah. So I think that's the first step. The management needs to decide what kind of team the Lions will be next year.
They better know now.
Yeah, this year it was a pass only team. We can't afford that next year. We got to be a bit more balanced. It doesn't have to be like a dominant running team, but it's just a run that will be respected by our opponents. Right?
Can't be ninth in the league.
Yeah.
Could that pass-only decision be partly influenced from a business point of view?
I don't think so.
Nate did what he did last year. Did they decide to go pass-only because, hey, we got the fast track in the dome, entertaining? Because I'm a pass-only offense, and that's why I will argue my CFL over the NFL is because I just find pass game more entertaining. That's just me. But could they have gone pass-only because it's more entertaining? Maybe hoping to get more butts in the seats. Maybe hoping to have people the fans forget about Nathan Rourke. I'm just popped into my head now. Or is it just because that's what you wanted because you got little scat back running backs and hey, we got all these great receivers, let's go pass only?
So your pass only offense grade, is it like a 5-6 receiver set and they just do crisscrosses and then they go sit in this seam and then I'm gonna throw it to you?
All I'm saying is there's, to me, way
That's
more
pretty, to me, pretty boring. Honestly, pretty boring.
We're not going into that thread that you said. We'll look at that next episode.
But I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, like there has to be. I like an equal mix. I like an equal mix of run and
you
pass.
like some bully ball mixed in there, but I'm just saying I like a pass offense because it's just when that ball's up in the air, it's like hand-to-hand Russian hockey for me. It's just it's what gets me out of my seat is when that ball is up in the air.
Yeah.
A running back pounding through some people doesn't pull me out of my seat.
Yeah, but you know,
That's just,
Okay, I'll tell you what gets me out of my seat, because I'm a Seahawks fan. Greg, I know this is 3 Down Bros, but I'll tell you, because what got me out of my seat more was when Marshawn Lynch was going through the second layer
the beast mode
of
guy.
that beast. That was awesome.
but you don't have to.
I mean, that's.
You don't have to go to the NFL for that. We've got examples of that in Toronto and Winnipeg, right?
We had the example of that on Saturday, the first drive, the first one drive of the game, man. Just for the opposite team.
Exactly.
Actually,
Those are nightmares, Roland. I know I'm trying to forget that drive.
Well, I think if I could digress, like last night, I was still pretty upset. I was still piss and vinegar upset about that outcome of the game. So I went on to YouTube just to watch some of that game summary to see if there's anything I could pull out to bring on content onto our podcast here. Lo and behold, I run across the 1985 Grey Cup. And the lineup that we had there was 4 receivers, a fullback, and a running back. And watching the way the Lions ran that game, I'm like, oh, maybe they should use this as a blueprint for this team. I did it because that watching that cheered me up a little bit. But watching, 7-8 yards on first down because we had a dynamic blocking fullback in John Henry White that actually had some speed too. It was just fun to watch that O-line open up some holes and then watch that D-line toy with Hamilton's offensive line that all averaged 310 back in the day. But our front 4 was able to manhandle that five-player offensive line, and it was just a bully-type defensive line that's got some finesse versus our entirely lighter speed. Maybe they should just take a little bit. I mean, yes, it's 1985. That's like, 50 years ago, whatever it is. But maybe take a look at that blueprint and maybe Rick Campbell dip into back in the day your dad coached. And tweak it so you can have, like Arthur said, some balanced ball on both sides of it.
Well, I mean, if he's going to go back to his dad, then he should be paying off the refs, right? I mean, we should be getting advantage on the officials.
Whoa, hey.
Come on, it was the Campbell Football League back in the 80s and 90s. That's
hey, now, come on. You're questioning the integrity of Jake Ireland and those guys. Now, Jake Ireland, Ken Lazarus, those were decent officials. They took no crap from nobody. They held off their guys. There was no instant replay back then. And I don't seem to they didn't seem to blow as many calls as the guys that did. But again,
it's okay. What is
three cameras in a game.
Water the field in a grass field in the morning.
Hearsay.
It's been well documented.
But all I'm saying is that the blueprint of that Lions team, I mean, they were pass first, but they had a running game.
Yeah,
they had a decent running game.
It doesn't have to be 50-50, like I said, right? The way we were this year, it's like 90-10, 90 pass, 10 run. Rush. And
was it 10?
May not even be 10, right? So it doesn't have to be 50-50. It could be something like 70-30, 65-35. But as long as the defense, the opponents have to account for our run. This year they didn't have to account for the run at all. And so, with our passing game this year, plus a decent running game, I think we would have won. Yeah,
defensively, I think we were good. Like Arthur talked about having a saw-off on the lines, or a saw-off on side. I think defensively we held our own and played actually above what we needed to and delivered defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading posts out there today. There's a ton of people that want Ryan Phillips gone because he just can't call a defense.
That's not the...
I don't think that's the number one reason we lost that game.
No. So, I mean, if you're gonna say the first series. I mean, DC should be fired because of one defensive series. That's hard.
Well, then they should have called him on that in the opening. Well, I mean, mind you, we won the Western Series, but I mean, hey, look at that opening series in the Western Semi. Mm-hmm. We were there, and we were like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was worse, that opening defensive series against Calgary or that one against Winnipeg?
Oh, Winnipeg by far, because that took their man card right out of their pocket.
Winnipeg,
they went and fought and got it back. Come on, it was the same running play over and over. I mean,
was it? I eventually it was just like a big nightmare.
It's just going down the middle. It doesn't matter who's running behind. You just go down the middle.
Doesn't matter the hole there. They just keep pushing.
Yeah.
They just keep going.
But you know, if I were a Winnipeg fan, I love it. You know, this is what the game's all about, right? Physicality. You know, you beat them physically, and you know, even the push. You know, like the whole, you know, like that rugby push, right? That's
the scrum push. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? You don't give up. Everyone, you know, chips in, and you get another 5-6 yards. You get the touchdown, right? So, but yeah, that's just traditional old time football, right?
Yep, and the 32,000 plus fans at IG Field, that got them all fired up, and they stayed fired up. Now, my question is, that's an outdoor stadium with an open roof. Yes, maybe the bleachers are constructed to bounce the noise back down. We talked about our guys not being able to hear. Those 30,000 people there, we had 30,000 people in our dome, and we had our roof closed. But opponents don't have a problem with the dome noise anymore. Why is that?
We don't have a football culture yet in Vancouver. Maybe over time with Amar, you know, Doman on the reins, you know, we might build up to that. But we're not there yet as a fan base. You know, half of those people, you know, are new people, right?
Or are fans of the opposition that have moved to BC.
Greg, you're gonna yell pretty loud when you're like, it's very not covered in IG Field. It's cold. It's like freezing.
Yeah.
So you're saying they yell to just stay warm?
I mean, come on, Greg. You put yourself out there. You're sitting out there. I don't know how much of a wind there was, but that's cold. You gotta yell just to keep warm. In BC plates, it's not nice and comfortable.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's the problem. We're too comfortable out here on the West Coast.
Oh no, I mean, it was so pretty loud in the dome. It was so pretty loud.
Yeah.
But
it was pretty loud, and yeah, it was.
But I agree with Ro. We got to continue to you know, hope Amar builds up football culture, and it's 3 Down Bros. We got to help him do what we can to get more people in that stand, those stands, because 30,000 people in Winnipeg can be loud. Well, I'm sure 30,000 people in BC Place can be louder.
Yeah.
As long as those 30,000 are BC fans, but I mean, we know half the time they are transplants.
But I mean, maybe I'm wondering if Winnipeg's doing a little, like, pumping the noise through the speakers.
That's illegal because speakers have to come off when the ref blows the play in.
How do you know
that?
How do you know?
Because our officials are in.
Officials.
They may not be ability based, but they should have integrity.
Yes. We'll leave it up to our officials. Okay.
But I just want to put a plug for the viewers. If you're watching this, I think a lot of our viewers are you know, big football fans already. But some of you might be new football fans. Maybe you don't know too much about the game. We're thinking, and let us know in the comments if this is something that you'd like to see. We're thinking in the off season, we're going to take some of the plays and basically break it down as a football 101. You know, for new guys coming into football and say, hey, you know, how does this work? How does that work? You know, we'll break down and give you a football 101 series during the off season. That's something that we talked about among us. But let us know in the comments if this is something that you think would be useful for you, or maybe if you have friends and family who you want to kind of get excited about football, and this might be a good resource for that. So let us know in the comments.
Definitely.
All right, I guess it's almost time for us to call it a day. Next week's going to be Montreal versus Winnipeg. I think it's going to be quick predictions. We don't have to go into any analysis. I say Winnipeg.
By how many, Roland?
I say 14.
14. Oh.
Arthur.
Arthur.
I thought about it. I mean, there's going to be score effects, but then can Cody actually throw the ball to a completion?
Yeah, there was no offense against Toronto. It was the defense.
Yeah, but then they'll be up huge, and then be score effect. I mean, Winnipeg will be up huge and be score effect. So I have to count. Winnipeg by 17.
Okay, that's even more. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Montreal by 6.
Whoa.
What?
Okay, we have the contrarian. Okay.
Montreal by
You've
6.
been eating too much poutine, haven't you, there, Greg?
Well, I've just looked at myself. There's Winnipeg blue, and there's Montreal blue. I look a lot better Montreal blue with red and white. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm just gonna go Montreal by 6.
Okay.
You're going with not your head.
Oh, definitely not my head.
You're not going with your heart.
Nope, because my heart bleeds this color.
So I can
Deduct that I wasn't
deduction.
drinking water today.
You're gonna go with some other part of your body, which I won't mention. But all right, good. All good, Greg.
I'm going with the brain. I'm sitting on. No, I'm gonna see again, like Arthur says, a 9-team league. Montreal kind of got hot in the stretch, like traditional CFL teams do, and just maybe, that Montreal defense with Sankey and Lemon can rattle Zach and
Oliveira.
Brady. Maybe.
Oliveira is banged up from BC. Maybe Schoen doesn't play again.
But that's not enough. The defense also needs to score.
Well, yeah,
because the offense can't score.
Maybe the offense will figure it out. I don't know.
Okay.
They're excited to be there.
Okay.
Maybe they'll figure it out. Because again, Arthur said Toronto's secondary is a lot better, or maybe better than Winnipeg's. Toronto's secondary is definitely a lot more aggressive.
Toronto secondary more.
Okay.
That's for sure.
And I mean, I think they led the league in turnovers. I think, or interceptions at least. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, and Montreal does have a running game, somewhat more than we do.
And they have a gutsy quarterback, Greg.
They got a durable quarterback. I mean,
Durable quarterback.
durable. I mean, he was sacked more times than any other quarterback in the league, and I believe he was sacked more times here than he was in Saskatchewan, where he complained about it. But maybe, just maybe, and I'm maybe everything falls into place for just that one game.
Okay. Well, I know why you're choosing Montreal. They've got a secret play on 2nd and long. They can convert the first down.
The play that defines this league.
I would love for them to win the Grey Cup on a play like that. I would love it. You know why? That would be the most CFL thing. They win the Grey Cup on a play like that. They are like get hot at the end of the year.
Everything.
No
about the
business.
CFL.
No business being honestly, no business being in the playoff spot. It's the most CFL thing. Sure, go for it. Why not? I'd love to see it.
That was beautiful.
I'd love to see it.
Win on a rouge.
Win on a missed field goal for a point to win the Grey Cup.
Hey, well, I mean, technically, didn't Montreal win one against Saskatchewan just because there was? Oh no, that was too many men on the field. Sorry, that's not a rouge. Okay, I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe something happens for Montreal. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. Anything can happen. Right?
Remember, it's not like a 7-game series in hockey.
Yeah.
It is a 1-game, and maybe Winnipeg just doesn't have. I mean, it happens.
Yeah,
You can have
never know.
an off game.
Who would have thought that Chad Kelly would have folded, right? Because he lost that game. On paper, it was it was a no
It was supposed to be a
contest.
cakewalk.
Yeah. So you never know. It could be
And I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of Leo's Legion out there that would rather see Winnipeg lose the Grey Cup after beating us. I'm just saying.
okay.
But please put it in the comments if you'd rather see Montreal. I think we should throw that out to our listeners, our viewers. Who would you rather see win the Grey Cup?
Sure.
The Alouettes or the Bombers? Let us know in the comments.
Or are you just gonna watch the Canucks game? Let us know.
Is there a Canucks game on the 19th?
I hope not.
No, but I'm going to say Montreal. So we got Winnipeg by 14, Winnipeg by 17, and Montreal by 6.
Right.
So we will address that, plus our free agents and the Lions roster next episode.
Yes. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you're able to decompress with us on this disappointing loss. Over time, it's going to feel better. But positive thing for me, at least, is that we know what needs to be done for next year. So we'll talk more about that next week too. All right. Take care, guys. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Go Lions.